Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're getting deep into the UFO world. PhD student Maya Cowan is here. She is with the Society for UAP Studies. We're going to talk a lot of UFOs tonight, so get ready for it. Kitty Cattywack's in the gold medal position tonight. Race fan with a silver. Necessary dialogue with a bronze medal tonight. I'm LWD40, who's lubing us up for tonight's show, because you can't talk UFOs and aliens unless you're nice and lubed. So thank you, Mel. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot as well, okay? Robert Lamoth, how you doing? Nice to see you. Jaime Alanez, how are you? Jaime will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Trucker Andrew, how you doing? Frankie B, nice to see you. There she is. Mama Catherine, mwah, throwing you a kiss, my dear. Hope you have a great night listening, and I love you. I really love you. Thank you for being here. Love Mama Catherine. All right, moving on. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, race fan. How you doing? And who is next on our list here? It's Cosmic Joe, everybody. Thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. The lovely and talented Deanna Ann, how are you tonight? And Evan Walters, pissing me off already. We haven't even started, barely, and you're already pissing me off. I love it. Good job. You know you're doing your job when you got that going for you, Ev. Thank you for being here. Jaquetta, how are you? Cosmic Joe, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much. Dutch Hank, how are you tonight? And Dutch Hank with a great Super Chat as well. Thank you, Dutch. We appreciate you. And let's see, who else do we have here? Shogun, how are you tonight? Thank you for joining us. Number 32 in your program, starting on defense from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson, there he is. Getting ready for the big games coming on up. Integrationing, how are you? Gory Tiger, Pam Harris, and Resist. Nice to have you all here tonight as we continue on with our roll call. And let's see who else is here. Necessary dialogue. What in Tarnation is here? What in Tarnation will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Holy Sun, nice to see you. Good morning, Body Tech. Thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Kiwi DJ, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for being here. And let's see, Desert Rat, Road Flare, the Libyan. Or is that? I can't read that very well. The Libyan. Yeah, the Libyan, I think. Well, anyways, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for being here. Cowie Snyder, how are you tonight? And Walter Kochabinski. Oh, it's Majdi. How are you, Majdi? Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you here. I love it when people from other countries are listening in. It makes it so warm and special. And B, how are you? Space Cadet Denise Corwin. How are you all doing tonight? Thank you for being here. Tyler, Fap Nuts, nice to see you. And who else do we have? Jay Truth, good to have you here as well. Digi-Addict, thanks for coming on in. And let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're getting into the UFO disclosure world. PhD student Maya Cowan is here. We're going to have a great show with her tonight coming on up. So get ready, as she is part of the Society for UAP Studies. So we're going to have a great show. She knows what she's talking about. Super Chat is open, as it's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis on our YouTube side. JSCO, how you doing? And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Rono how you doing? Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, thank you for joining our membership on YouTube. We greatly appreciate that. Time, everybody. It's that time to throw those horns up.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Who wants to be?
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Join us in the heart of the Caribou region of British Columbia, September 18th through 20th for Caribou Con. Get your VIP tickets now at cariboucon.com. We have an amazing show tonight. We're going to break down the UFO files, disclosure, and so much more about this important topic that we call ufology. Some may call UApology. Maya Cowan with the Society for UAP Studies. She's a good friend of this show. She's going to hang out with us the next couple of hours. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another creepy story. After that, it will be Lee Strauss, who is in for the Q&A. So let's get right to it. Maya Cowan is an anthropology PhD candidate at Binghamton University, preparing to defend dissertation, knowing the unknown, the epistemic, why can't I pronounce that word? Epistemic Culture of UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Science. Her research focuses on how cultures of expertise are emerging within the growing scientific community of unknown objects, drawing from 3 years of ethnographic fieldwork conducting alongside UAP scientists and researchers. Through her work, Maya examines how knowledge, credibility, and scientific authority are being shaped with this evolving and controversial academic discipline. But we do see a lot more scientists starting to jump on board. And you know, when Neil deGrasse Tyson is talking about it, you know it must be true, because he'll never tell a fib, will he? Maya Cowan, nice to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Great to be here. I have one small correction. I have defended my dissertation already.
Oh, do you?
Yes. I don't think
And how
I'm
did
quite
that go?
technically a PhD because I don't get my degree until August, but yeah, I'm done.
How does that feel? Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a huge relief. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. You got to feel pretty pretty victorious over that, gaining your PhD.
Definitely. There's also, I mean, I had a few corrections, but it was very gratifying that, I had 5 people on my committee, including the external examiner who doesn't know anything about the project. And none of the corrections were about the content. And that's what I was afraid of, is that they would look at it and be like, what is this girl talking about? What is this crazy UFO stuff? But they actually thought that part was really great. They just wanted me to do a stronger job of framing it as a contribution to the anthropological literature. So it feels great.
This is a subject in UFOs, UAP, whatever you want to call it, okay, that is really starting to take off. And a lot of scientists who once, shook this subject off as just science fiction nonsense are now realizing that there is something real. Being in the scientific community, how has it changed in your short time involved with this?
So much. I was just talking about this. I officially started this research in like spring of 2023. And so over 3 years ago now. And from that time to now, so much is different. Even at the very fact of, if you look at the number of publications that have come out of projects like the Galileo Project or UAPX or Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, 3 years ago, there was really not very much. There was a couple things from this sort of new wave of scientific research, but now there are dozens, if not dozens, close to dozens of papers that have been published just in the last 3 years. Maybe 2 dozen, something like that. I don't know. Now I think I might be overstating it, but a lot, a really significant number. And 3 years ago, when I first started talking to people, that was what everyone said would be the first step, right? Is trying to publish these things so that other people can look at them and can cite them as justification for doing their own research. And people can start citing each other and saying, okay, look, we're building a real field here, a real academic discipline. And that's happening now. It's underway, well underway.
Now, if I'm correct, you're not an experiencer of this, but you have a very large interest in this subject. What drove you here? Why did you feel that it was very important to make UFOs and unidentified anomalous phenomena a major catalyst in your scientific career?
I am an experiencer of it. Me and my brother saw a UFO when we were kids together. And so that was definitely very formative, but also my grandfather was really interested in the subject. And so I kind of just grew up hearing about it, and it never really seemed strange for me. Like I never had to have that sort of moment of ontological shock or anything. It was always within my ontology. And then I sort of just followed along with it my whole life. And my other original PhD project was not working out. And I won't waste any more time talking about that because it's very boring. But I basically just started thinking to myself, because I was doing this research in like quote unquote cultures of expertise, like looking at how cultures develop in fields of academia or knowledge production or government or things like this. And so that's what I was doing, looking at pension plans. And then I thought, okay, this is something that I could probably apply to the UAP science, because it seems like this is sort of a new area of expertise that's developing. And so I just asked my supervisor if I could switch, and he was very skeptical about it at first, I think. He probably won't admit that now. He'll say but yeah, he let me switch. And so the rest was history, I guess.
I gotta ask you in regards to your evolution as an anthropologist. So for people who don't know what an anthropologist is, you're a scientist who studies humanity, including behavior, belief systems, physical evolution, origins, and diverse cultures. I think I nailed it on the head with that one, right?
Yeah, I would say more a social scientist than a scientist, because there's sort of an objectivity in science that you can't really necessarily get with anthropology, because partly because the person who's doing the research is always going to be necessarily such a part of it. But certainly the rest of it, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it.
Okay, so in your line of study then, how do you tie humanity to UFOs?
I mean, I think certainly that work has been done for some time. I think, there's a lot of evidence if you choose, to believe it, like looking at old art and things like that, that UFOs have probably always been with us to some degree, or something like UFOs. But what I think is actually so interesting about this topic within academia, and I wrote about this in my dissertation, is that there are almost infinite ways of tying the subject to humanity. So in anthropology, you have people that specialize in religion or in art or like science and academia, like I do. And pretty much any angle that you have on anthropology, you could find a way to study this subject through that. And I think that's true with every academic discipline, really. Like if you're a philosopher, there's a way to study UFOs. If you are a physicist, there's a way to study UFOs. If you're an engineer, there's a way to study UFOs. So it's just such a complex topic that it's hard to, there's just no limits, really, I think, on all the different ways that you could apply that.
If you look at the way humanity will treat this subject as more information comes out, what is your expectation of people going through this? Because I remember a while ago, and my audience may remember me saying this, I remember a few years ago, I talked to Lou Elizondo, and I asked him a question about, were they monitoring the way people were treating people during the pandemic? Okay, because I think during the pandemic, and I'm not here to get into everything of whether you believe in it or not, that's not the purpose of this conversation. The purpose of this conversation was how people were treating each other. We didn't treat each other very well. We really didn't. You go to the grocery store, people were ripping milk and toilet paper out of single parents' hands. People were buying $2,000-$3,000 worth of meat because apparently a pandemic means you don't cut down trees and there's no more toilet paper or whatever, and that cows were going to be affected and everything like that. We really saw the worst of humanity during that time, and extreme selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the pandemic. Yes, it was a world issue. Okay. But I look at aliens and ET contact as being a way bigger issue than the pandemic ever could be. And I'm wondering, if you look back at that and you look at where we are today as this information starts to funnel out slowly but surely, do you ever wonder how humanity is going to react when they learn we are not alone?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just me speaking as an anthropologist, and I can share a little bit of what I found that I wrote about in my dissertation, and then I'll be talking about at SCU later this summer, is that I think sometimes we underestimate how much of humanity already knows that we're not alone. Whatever you want to call that, it could be in different, theologies or religions or ontologies. It could be God or some other sorts of beings, or it could be UFOs. But so much of humanity already has a framework of, humanity is not alone here. And what I found that was interesting when I was interviewing scientists who study this topic is that there's been some literature within the social sciences and humanities that's sort of talking about how individual people react when they first learn about this topic. And it usually relates it to a sort of religious encounter, right? Like people learn about this topic and it's like being converted to a new religion, and it really turns their world upside down, and it's extremely monumental. But of the scientists that I interviewed, there were a couple people who had something like that they described as like a conversion narrative sort of thing, as it's been called in some of the literature about UFOs. But most people didn't. Most people that I talked to were interested in the subject their whole life, really, from the time they were kids. And part of that, like the different factors that people sort of put into that was to a minor degree religion. One person talked about how his religious background and upbringing sort of primed him to, already believe in non-human intelligence and that humanity wasn't alone because he grew up, with like angels and demons and things like that. The other major thing was science fiction, that a lot of people grew up super interested in science fiction. So they were already thinking about these things and sort of imagining these contact moments and imagining what it would be like if humanity were not alone. And then another thing is just like news stories and media. A lot of people mentioned being a kid and seeing a UFO sighting on the news or watching Unsolved Mysteries or In Search Of or shows like this. And so they were already these topics were already percolating for so many people that when they saw the New York Times article in 2017, or they saw the Grush testimony or whatever, it wasn't actually so much of a shock to them. They were kind of like, well, yeah, I already sort of thought that this is what was going to happen. Or this is really interesting. Let's study this more. So I know it's a really small sample size and it's from a very specific population, but I'm personally a little bit skeptical about the catastrophic disclosure narrative. And I think, I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm saying that I think we need a lot more solid studies before we can really make any claims about how humanity as a whole is going to react. And I think that's very worth doing. I think it's very worth studying and putting out surveys and questionnaires and trying to evaluate what the actual scope is of what's often called ontological shock in the UFO community. Because when I was expecting to hear a lot of stories about ontological shock, but I really didn't.
I will tell you this, and I'm going to politely disagree with some of the things you said there, because I don't think society as a whole is ready for it. I'll give you a quick example. Okay. So I do a ghost tour at our local museum and I was advertising it. Okay. Because I, try and bring people in, raise money for the museum, and, it's all a good time. So I post in one of the community boards, and this lady mentions to me, no such thing as ghosts, but demons instead. Go for the thrill, leave with demons, attachments, now coming to your house in life. Don't do it. This is the attitude that a lot of people have because of either religion or fear regarding this subject, or nightmares, or whatever it may cause. And I'm just wondering, considering more than half the world's population still prays to a religious deity who believes anything coming from the stars is demonic, evil, or part of the book of Revelation, how do we combat that or educate would be a better word, that there is a whole new different type of study in an infinite universe waiting for us to grasp? And as humans, our job is to grow. That's what we're good at. We're not good at much, but we're good at thinking, we're good at building, we're good at growing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's funny. I used to be a ghost tour guide too for a year. And certainly when I was working in the office, we got some strange calls along those lines. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not at all denying that people will have these reactions. Of course they will. And, I'm sure everyone has seen some example of that or has experienced some example of that themselves. I just haven't seen any evidence about how widespread it would be. Because when I talked to another friend who is a Christian and a scholar of this subject, he said that his experience with his community is that he thinks people would be fairly open to it. So I just think it needs more study, to be perfectly honest. And I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying, that we shouldn't educate people and that certain people won't freak out or experience, some sort of ontological shock or something, I would just like to see more study about what the scope would actually be on things like that. Because I think that's very doable. It's just, I think right now we're at a point where everyone is sort of, I don't know, inferring based on their anecdotal experience. But as far as education, yeah, I think that's certainly needed. Absolutely.
What do you think?
Sorry, I got distracted.
No, that's fine. What do you think we need to know? Let's say for the laymen who are not following this topic very closely. I look at people, let's say the 45 and up crowd, okay, that is more into, you know, my dad is 77. He knows that I do this thing. He couldn't give two rats butts about it. You know, he couldn't care. Like I try and bring it up with him and I get the old, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the quick Pepsi versus Coke, you know, that's kind of what my dad does. And a lot of people are like that. They may have a keen interest to ask a couple of questions, but you know, it's headline type news for them rather than looking in depth. How do we educate those people about this new reality to humanity?
I mean, I think, and this is again speaking as an anthropologist, I mean, I know that I could say from my own personal life, I feel like since I was a kid, I've certainly now, I'm a lot of people's UFO friend, right? Like the one person that they know who is always going to be into UFOs and ghosts. And if they have any questions about this, they know who to reach out to, and it's me. And I think probably people being open about the subject in their own lives may at the very least make it less scary for other people, because I don't know if you've had this experience. I certainly have, of people, you know, getting a sudden interest in this topic and sending you a message and being like, hey, Dave, I know you're really into UFOs. I just saw this thing. It was really interesting. Where can I learn more about this? I've had a couple of people. Yeah, exactly.
And you know what's funny? The majority of those comments happen while I'm broadcasting this show. All of a sudden they'll pop up on my Facebook. Hey man,
so late night.
I just filmed this. Could you break it down for me? What do you think? I'm working. Please give me some time here. Right?
Yeah, one of my cousins. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I love the fact you can tell her and I are both Canadian. Sorry. Right. But I do love the fact that somebody took the time that they felt they needed my opinion to see what they saw. And I think that's really cool. I'm extremely appreciative of that as well.
Me too. And my first cousin, once removed, I guess, my grandpa's first cousin, she actually lives in northern BC as well. She saw me post something about this on Facebook like 2 years ago, and she reached out to me and said, basically, do you believe in this stuff? And I was like, yeah, of course I believe in this stuff. And she was like, wow, me too. And I've had no one to talk about this. And she had this crazy experience in the 80s where a flying saucer landed on her lawn, and she had to just basically keep it to herself and not talk about it because of the way that other people reacted to it. But knowing that someone
landed on her lawn?
Yeah.
Like a UFO landed on her lawn?
Yeah.
Awesome. Where was this, if you don't mind me asking?
I'd have to remember the exact town, but outside Quesnel.
Oh, great. So around my area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the area as well around here. This area is a hotbed. The Caribou region is a hotbed for UFO sightings and landings. I had one of my landings in the forest here 30 miles away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should put her in contact with you.
Please. Please. I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Maya, because we are going to go to break. We have so much to jam into the next 90 minutes. It's going to be impossible to get to everything, but we need to find out what Maya's thoughts are on the UFO files that have dropped. Does she maybe know when the next one's going to drop? What's the hidden information of the direction this is all going to go through? What hair product does she use? Because she has fantastic hair. We need to find this out. and more on Spaced Out Radio. The second half hour is next. All right, we are clear. Remember, our audience can hear us.
Yes.
We got 5 minutes here.
Okay, I'm just going to go grab some water.
Yep.
I'll be right back.
I'll take you out. There you go. All right, Dr. Bob, how you doing? Nice to see you. And who haven't I said hello to yet? Forrest Louie, how are you, my friend? Nice to see you here again. And that little glitch earlier, we've been at the beginning of the show where the signal came out in and out. We've been having thunder and lightning all afternoon. So I think it glitched us there for a minute, but we're back. We are back, people. We're back. Feed me, Seymour. How you doing? Honest content. Nice to see you. Sunny Sandu, how are you, buddy? Are you coming up for UFO con? For Caribou Con? Come on, Sunny Sandu. We want to see you here. You and Rebecca, come on up. Go to cariboucon.com. Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Paramarv. This is why you're part of the backbone of this show. We are at 29,993 subscribers. We are 7 subscribers away from 30,000. If you have not hit it, I'm going to be greedy here, people. I'm going to be greedy. I want 7 tonight. Well, 8. So that way I can say we crossed the bridge of 30,000. We need 8. 8, I tell you. Tamisha, how are you tonight? Thank you. The beard is kind of soft. If you join us for a Vegas party, you get your choice of tugging on my beard like this or tugging Tim Mothman's goatee. It's true. Fap, thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Let's bring Maya back in. Hi, friend.
Hey.
We have about 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Cool.
You know what we found last week in the forest at my spot?
What?
18 and a half inch Sasquatch footprint.
Wow.
There were 2 of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Going back on Sunday.
Did you cast them?
No.
Did you photograph them?
Yes.
Nice.
And we could easily measure it because one of the guys on my team, Kevin, he's about the size of a Sasquatch. And he has like size 16 feet. We put his shoe down beside it, and like his foot looks small compared to this.
Wow.
Yeah. Like width wise,
awesome.
I think it was probably 9 inches wide. Crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Truth Seeker, Maya is not from Vancouver, Canada. She is from Canada, but not from Vancouver. She's in New York right now. She likes to cheer for the Yankees. Don't tell me you're a Mets fan.
I don't really watch baseball.
She cheers for the Yankees. Okay, she hates the New York Rangers. Right? Jason Viberg, welcome to SOR Chat from Victoria. Very nice. I'd like to see that video. Love to see that video, man. Thank you to our
asked if I'm from Vancouver. I'm from Hope.
Yeah, I know you're right at the heart of the canyon, where all the scary shit starts. You're just south of all the scary shit. That all starts in Yale.
Yeah.
Thank you to our super chatters tonight: Shogun, Pam, Titsa McGee, Dutch Hank, and Cosmic Joe. Thank you for the love. Nobody's a Dodgers fan, Fap. Nobody likes the Dodgers. We got about 30 seconds.
Someone spotted my reptilian head.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
It's the creature from the Black Lagoon.
All right, we're coming back in 15 seconds just to piss Fap off. I'm going to mess my hair. The Yankees head. Here we go, Maya.
All right.
Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us as we talk UFOs and disclosure with PhD anthropologist Maya Cowan. Proud to say that now. I didn't know that until the last half hour of the show. PhD anthropologist. God, that sounds good. I'm not going to lie before we get started here. I'm a little jealous, but in a good way. In a good way, not in a scheming way, but I'm very proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we bring Maya back in, let us remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Maya Cowan is here from the Society for UAP Studies. She's an anthropologist, PhD. That's just nice. That rolls off the tongue well. What's your thoughts of the UFO files that have been dropped so far?
I probably should have thought more about this. They dropped right in the middle of the last sort of stretch of my dissertation work. So I probably, haven't done as much deep studying on them as I should have. But certainly interesting, promising. I am sort of once again, a little bit dismayed by how quickly it left the news cycle. Yeah, it seems like it would have been certainly bigger news, right? But I mean, yeah, they look interesting. I think from everything I've heard, I mean, I'm definitely not qualified to do the full image analysis, video analysis sort of work on them.
Personal opinion. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I think they're really interesting. Some people that I trust to make that evaluation have said that some of them are probably solvable or camera artifacts, but a lot of them are certainly not and look, very interesting, very promising. I think from what I've heard, it's a little hard to study them scientifically still because a lot of the contextual information has been removed for national security reasons ostensibly, and so it's a little bit hard for us, or not for us, I guess, but for scientists on the outside to truly really dig into them. But from what we've seen, yeah, certainly they look interesting. And I think as people have more time with them and study them deeper, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. But it certainly is kind of, I don't know, it's certainly a lot more than we've got. Sorry, I keep saying the word certainly. It's more than we've got in the past, but it's still a drop in the bucket as far as the information that we know that they have. So it would be good for them to follow that up, certainly with some of the other promises to make this data available.
When you take a look at the overall aspect that the doors are starting to open, we are getting information. A lot of the videos seem to be of very questionable craft that are flying around. It's hard to decipher whether it's a UFO or whether it's man-made. UAP. My question to you is, from a human level, if they keep showing us dots like a game of Pong on these videos, will that eventually frustrate the public to the point that they'll say, look, they're not showing us anything interesting. This could be anything. And what is, in your opinion, the timeline of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard more or less the same thing, from the general public every time there's been a large development in the media that the government, like in the 2017 New York Times article, and when those videos, the 3 videos were initially released, or when David Grush and David Fravor and Ryan Graves testified, or certain documentaries or whatever that have gotten a lot more public attention, or now this, it's like, without showing true and definitive proof, there's always going to be people who are going to be frustrated by that, right? And we'll look at that and say, okay, well, sure, fine, but I wanted to see the real thing, or I wanted to see some straight up, pictures of the craft or some real evidence. And so, yeah, I know that there's definitely a lot of people who are in that kind of I want to believe phase, right? And they're just looking for something more definitive. And that's certainly also something that, a lot of the scientists that I work with, I think, are trying to accomplish on their own, right? Is like, can we really trust the government to ever release any of this stuff? Or do we have to go and get this data on our own? Because we will. And people certainly are doing that work. So,
yeah.
As far as the timeline, I mean, I'm not sure. If certainly there's the Soul Foundation catastrophic disclosure sort of timeline that was released a couple of years ago. So, if you buy into that, or if you buy into the rumors, and all of this could just be breadcrumb towards a larger revelation that they're planning on, that's possible, I suppose.
Do you think catastrophic disclosure would be better for humanity than any sort of controlled narrative where, I mean, the funny part about this whole subject, and I'm going to sidebar here for a second, is that nobody believes any government anymore. They're all, politics due to social media has become just a laughing stock of arguments and different types of memes that happen every single day. And I don't think it's good for politics, to be blunt. But the point that I'm getting at is, at some point, we have to be able to see where the truth lies. And I think we're probably at an all-time low ever of people trusting their government. Yet when it comes to UFOs, we're supposed to trust them, that they are giving us the biggest and best that they have. And we don't have a media that's challenging them. Look at NASA. NASA got caught lying with their pants down, and nobody's called them out for it. That's the media's job. That's the government's job. And yet these files prove, after that hilarious $100,000 study where they said, no, we didn't find anything to do with UFOs here. What a waste of time. We would have told you about it. Well, guess what? It has happened. And I know I'm taking a big sidebar here, so I'll wrap this up with a question, actually. How are we supposed to believe as people that the government have the best interest in our hands when it comes to this subject of extraterrestrial life?
I mean, to answer your first initial question, do I think catastrophic disclosure would be better? I mean, I think the reality is, you're right. We're at a time when most people do not trust their government to make the right choices on just about anything, this topic included. And so, I don't know. Do I think it would be better? I mean, it's hard to say, but I do think that people are sick of being infantilized. That much I certainly believe is true. That, I think when even there was all this talk about catastrophic disclosure to begin with, and about, how do we release this all in a way that will whatever. I think a lot of people took that and said, like, we're real people, all of us are real. As you said earlier, we're all thinking, capable people with our own brains and our own minds and our own ability to take in information. And so who is the government to decide when I'm ready to know about the reality of extraterrestrial life or non-human intelligence or UFOs or whatever it is, right? So in a way, I guess if there were, I'll stop using catastrophic disclosure because I think that could mean a lot of different things. But if there were some sort of like grand revelation all at once, either from the government or from outside the government, I think maybe more people would believe it almost if it came from outside the government at this point. But if it does come from the government, I think there's a lot of people, like you said, at this point, who are just skeptical of anything that they say or do at this point. So
if we're not supposed to trust them with any sort of disclosure movement, how can we trust that the videos that we are getting, or, outside of the older information that's dropping, whether it was the World War II Foo Fighters or the NASA programs or whatever, but let's stick specifically with the videos because people will bite into those a little bit more. How are we supposed to take those seriously, that they are UFOs, when it's going to be very easy for them to use AI to make these videos, to keep those videos or those craft, whatever they are, so far away that we can barely make out their shape, let alone what kind of craft they are or who they're made by or where they come from. It just seems like they're giving us some, but maybe, just maybe, there's a little disinformation that's being pushed through there as well.
That's certainly something that I have heard as a concern from other people who are a little bit more adept at looking at a video of something flying around and knowing exactly what it is than I am, is that some of these videos do appear to be something, that's not actually necessarily unknown, that does have a prosaic explanation that could be figured out. And by mixing those in with other potentially greater unknown videos, like, is that an element of disinformation? Because if some of them are easily debunked, does that then give fodder to people saying, oh, well, they're all easily debunked, right? If they're releasing things ostensibly as UAP, and the government does internally make a distinction between UAP, right, unidentified anomalous phenomena, and temporarily non-attributed objects. So that's anything that was initially reported as a UAP by somebody, but then was, they made an attribution and they said, okay, this is actually prosaic. So like if I reported, if I'm a Navy pilot and I reported a seagull and I said, oh my God, it's a UAP. And they looked at it and they said, no, that's a seagull. That would not be considered a UAP in the government document. It would be a temporarily non-attributed object. So the fact that, if they're releasing all these videos and they're saying they're all UAPs, but some of them are temporarily non-attributed objects, then, that's definitely a concern I've heard from some people that could be a form of disinformation or of continuing to, like the CIA report from 1953 that talks about basically that they're worried that the public is interested in UFOs, and the easiest way to solve that problem and get people disinterested would be to essentially have a widespread debunking campaign where we get experts to go on TV and look at things and say, oh, this isn't a UFO and here's why. And, it's all silly. You can calm down. It's not real. So is that what's going on right now? I don't know, but it certainly seems like a possibility.
It really does. As we have Maya Cowan as our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She's a PhD anthropologist and part of the Society for UAP Studies. When we take a look at the way this is being played out, is this subject becoming too political to even make any head waves in knowledge anymore? Or has it become so big in its current setting that they have to start cutting down some of these trails that are veering off the main subject. Does that make sense? I don't think I made sense.
It does. No, I think it made sense. I think I see what you're saying. I think, well, this is just me speaking as a Canadian who now lives in the US. I think in Canada, we sometimes like get used to the idea that if something is a big enough and important enough topic, that the government will kind of just work across party lines and figure out a solution. But it seems like in American politics that very rarely happens about anything. And it's almost strange, but I guess not when you really think about it, that UFOs are sort of like the one subject that manages to reach people on both sides of the aisle, because it is really like a polar system here. And certainly, 3 years ago, we were watching this 3-4 years ago, watching the start of this new era of hearings that we're sort of in now, how many people would be involved from the Republicans and the Democrats. It was like, wow, this is really amazing. But it seems like maybe in the last year or so that sort of faltered a little bit, and I'm not sure it's really there anymore. And I don't know, I think it would be a shame, because I think part of the true bipartisan nature of how it's been done in the last couple of years is part of what makes it, I think, a little bit more credible to the public. This came up during my PhD defense. One of my committee members said something about like, oh, well, this is this has been taken up by the right wing, hasn't it? And I was like, well, okay, yeah, but it's also been taken up by the left wing. Like, you can't tell me AOC isn't a left wing politician, and she's been on committees for this, or hearing, committees. So, it's,
But
it does make it more credible to certain people. But
isn't that what we do when we're not getting answers? We divide it by political party.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
So I mean, if we look at it that way, then the small town scraps that we are looking for, or that the government agencies love because they get to play with the bigger information, they let us go to the war, or verbally, physically on social media about, well, this is a Republican thing, this is a Democrat thing, or in Canada, this is a conservative thing, this is a liberal thing. I mean, it just seems like, this verbal political party jousting on a subject that has been very, very united between both parties, especially in the United States. I don't see how that argument justifies trying to figure out what UFOs are. It's just social media fodder. That's a waste of typing.
No, okay, yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Yeah, the politicization of it at all, certainly. I mean, I think that's just one of the risks of it, right? Like, if you want the government talking about it, in the US at least, it's going to be these two sides talking about it from their own sides. And so maybe that's another argument why, maybe this isn't the best arena to handle things after all.
So who wins and who loses in that situation?
I mean, so I guess I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if anybody wins. I think who wins is whoever is able to win a vote off of somebody by convincing that they're interested in the subject. And who loses is everyone who's deeply interested in the subject and wants it to be taken seriously outside of the realm of politics. I don't know. Sorry, was that?
No, but I mean, if that's the best answer you have, that's wonderful. Okay, because it is a one of those stupid questions that has to be asked, but really there is no answer for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We got about 5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Anthropologist Maya Cowan is here with us tonight from the Society for UAP Studies. What can the people learn right now? What is the message that people can learn, in your opinion, about whether or not we're alone in the universe?
I'm sorry, can you state that one more time?
No problem. No problem. What can people learn, in your opinion, to help them figure out that we are not alone in the universe?
I mean, yeah, that's a big question. I don't know. I think there are a lot of answers to that, right? I mean, this is also partly why I think it needs to be studied more systematically, learning how people come into this topic and what their reactions are, and trying to correlate that, I guess, because it would be interesting to me to see on a large scale. Like, there's been these sort of smaller ethnographic approaches like mine, or looking at historical documents to see how people came to the UFO subject and how it affected them. But it would be interesting to see a more systematic, wide-scale study of that, partly because I think it would give us that sort of information, right? If we looked at everyone who's listening here tonight, right, and we sent them all a survey and asked them, how did you get interested in this subject? What was the first thing that you encountered? That would give us a lot of information, I think, about, how to best approach it, if that makes sense.
I think it does. And from a scientific perspective, where do you think the science needs to learn? Because it seems like, prior to the files coming out, we were starting to go down a little bit of a road of woo here, where we were getting into ET species. The idea of hybridization programs came up in the congressional hearings. We started kind of going down that road, but all of a sudden the files come out, and it seems like we're right back to nuts and bolts.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe this is a little controversial, but I think the longer I've been studying this subject, like officially, and sort of, especially because by virtue of trying to figure out, like, okay, what can I write about this subject that I can contain in a 250 word dissertation, or page, not words, more than 250 word dissertation. And so I kind of decided to study the scientific community who's interested in this subject. But like, there really is no one community, is there? I mean, like, we're all united around this topic, and it's like an overarching umbrella that we all fall under, but within it, there's just so many different approaches. And, from the very beginning of me starting this research, I have had people tell me, like, well, you're wasting your time. Like, what are you doing studying science? This isn't a scientific topic. This is a religious topic. It's a spiritual topic. You have to look at experiences. You have to look at the spiritual side of this. And I'm like, I'm powerless to say, like, I don't disagree. I think it's all of these things. I just don't really have the particular toolkit to study it that way. So this is how I'm studying it. But there's just so many different ways of looking at it, right? I mean, like, these experiences that people report really do have both, like, there's one paper that I like that called it internal or embodied experiences, like things that are not going to show in the outside world. And they have material components, like a saucer that lands on your lawn, or, a physical effect that someone had from an experience, a burn or what have you. So I got sidetracked. And I love it.
I love it when our guests get sidetracked. It makes the conversation that much more fun. So I do appreciate that. I want to get to some audience questions in the next hour, because these are the people, our audience are the people, Maya, that are wondering where this is going. We as journalists or scientists, we only know so much. But they have questions because they've seen things. They've gone through the experiences. Some of them have been abducted or had some sort of contact. We want to get their questions up next when we come back from this. Maya Cowan, a brilliant anthropologist, PhD. She's out of New York, via British Columbia, about 2.5 hours from where SOR headquarters is located. And she is also part of the Society for UAP Studies here on Spaced Out Radio. We are going to have a good conversation with Maya, continuing for another hour. We'll be right back. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Maya, we have about 5.5 minutes. I'm just going to play a video ad here, and we'll be right back, okay? There we go.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
5 explorable Gold Rush era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten. The 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to our super chatters tonight. Shogun, Pam, Tits McGee, Dutch Hank, and Cosmic Joe. We appreciate it. Let's bring Maya back in here. There we go. We are about 20 seconds away from getting things going in hour number 2. And great show so far. Great show. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I love it when you're on. I get excited when I see your name on our list.
I get excited to be on.
All right, Lacey Blue, how are you? Here we go, everybody. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. We got another hour with anthropologist Maya Cowan from the Society for UAP Studies as we look at the movement of disclosure coming at you here in just a little bit. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Raylophone. Raylophone is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let us move on to Maya Cowan, anthropologist for the Society of UAP Studies, hanging on out with us, talking about the human effects of UFO disclosure, files, and everything in between. Maya, we're so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, just as you said that, something popped up on my screen that was trying to update my laptop, and I was like, no, you don't. Sorry, what was the question?
Well, it was a quick thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's always great.
Yes, gotta love technology. There's about 3,900 miles in between us right now, so I'm glad that you are here as well. Let's start off with a question here from Shogun, who is asking, do you think the Jersey drones was somebody's test to see how society would handle disclosure?
I don't know. I'm still, I wish I knew more about what was going on with the New Jersey drones. Certainly. I mean, it's certainly possible, although I'm not sure, if they were going to test disclosure, I think the language that was used by the authorities was maybe, because I think people would react very differently if, like the one politician, I can't remember who, threw out that it could be like the drones are from Iran and it's like an Iranian mothership that's just off the coast of the sea. People would react very differently to that than, in the possibility that we could be at war, than they would react to non-human intelligence. So I'm not sure it would be the best way to test that if that's what they were doing, but it's certainly possible. I don't know too much about it. I know some people who have seen the New Jersey drones who lived in New Jersey, and I know that they were certainly very scary, and whatever was going on, I think people deserve some answers. That's for sure.
Let's go over to Marv here. Are you familiar with the Brookings report from 1962? If so, what are your thoughts on their findings?
Yeah, I haven't read the whole thing, which I should, and this is a good reminder, and I literally am going to put it on my to-do list right after the show. But from my understanding, the Brookings report, right, is the sort of like they evaluated how the public could react to disclosure, basically. And I think like some of the discourse that I've heard about the Brookings report, I kind of, I've heard that mirrored certainly from some of the people that I've talked to about the narratives that, some people have put about disclosure now, like this worry that people could react very negatively, and like, who does that really serve at the end of the day, right? Like, is it better for the government if it's status quo and if people don't believe these things, and if we want to keep this information secret and private, I think that's certainly a valid concern that, like, who does that serve at the end of the day? I guess, who does it serve? Does it serve us, or does it serve the people in power who want to protect their institutions? I guess a little bit like Dave and I were talking about earlier, or what you were sort of getting at, Dave. I don't know. I feel like I should have read the whole thing, and I haven't yet. But
That's okay. That's okay. At least you're being honest. That's all that matters.
I don't want to talk too much about it.
I think most people in ufology have not read up on it. So for people who are wondering, the Brookings report is a term for the proposed studies on the implications of peaceful space activities for human affairs, study commissioned by NASA in 1959, formally submitted by the Brookings Institution in December 1960, later published for the U.S. House of Representatives in 1961. They were talking about cultural disruption, reaction, and threats from people, and whether or not the government and policymakers should withhold and conceal information on news of alien contact to prevent mass panic, concluding that leaders might alter or restrict what is shared with the public. So it is a little bit of a propagandist piece, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's pretty much, that's about what I know about it. And I think something interesting that I learned myself very recently is that people are more skeptical about the UFO phenomenon now than they were in like the 60s and 70s. If you compare, at least certainly among the academic community, someone just put out a paper about this, Riz Verk, where he compared surveys from 1975 about what academics think about the UFO topic or the UAP topic and whether they think it's worthy of scientific study. And in 1975, academics were a lot more likely to say that they believed in the topic and they thought that it was worthy of scientific study than now. So certainly something happened in those 50 years, right, to get to where we are, where people are so much more skeptical than they were 50 years ago. And definitely, I think there's some questions to be had about what things like the Brookings report, what role that may have played.
That is something that we should look at for this time around. But I think people are more skeptical this time because we're not just listening to someone's word as the truth anymore.
Yeah.
Social media has changed that, especially YouTube, especially television with cable television. We want proof. We want evidence. We see all of this technology that, say on a UFO side of things, if they're bombing someone, doesn't matter which country, we get the most perfect videos ever. When it comes to UFOs, we're going back to the 1960s televisions, where you almost need rabbit ears in order to get a clear photo and picture. So I could see the level of frustration that people are saying, this isn't proof. This isn't telling us anything. And that level of frustration would definitely come through in that.
Really excellent point. Yeah, all of that's very true.
Let's go to Jaquetta here. Do the scientists that have come up missing or unalived concern you and the research you've pursued?
I mean, it certainly concerns me, like, as a person. Yeah, I find it very disturbing. I'm not sure if the question is asking, like, if I'm worried about it for myself. Is that how you would interpret that, Dave?
I think you can interpret it both ways. On a personal level, I think because you're not really involved with government or alphabet agencies or high
No.
military contracts, so I don't think that would affect you personally. But I think
Yeah.
as a scientist, watching your fellow brothers and sisters have these unfortunate events, and including military personnel as well on that. It's not just scientists, but I think when you see the pattern, and for some reason they all have UFOs in common, that's where it gets a little disconcerting.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for the same reason that I'm not worried about it for myself, I feel almost helpless and impotent to do anything about it besides, I guess, just make sure that it doesn't stay silent. But like, I'm not even an American citizen, so I wouldn't even be allowed to be involved with 3-letter agencies even if I wanted to be. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to interpret it, but if that's what you're asking, no, I'm not worried about it for myself. But yeah, it certainly does concern me on a personal level. Yeah, I think it's very troubling. Absolutely.
To think about what you just said, would you ever move back to Canada and join a Canadian alphabet agency on this topic?
CSIS?
CSIS or one of the ministries that hides the details, like the Ministry of Transportation or NAV Canada, or even,
Well, I'll tell you a little bit of an exclusive story that I don't think I've ever talked about in any sort of public way before, or really even to most people, because it didn't really wasn't very consequential. But when Sky Canada first started, I emailed Sky Canada and I offered to help or to because it's from the office of for people who aren't Canadian, it's the office of the science affairs or whatever. So it's like the government science agency. And I was like, well, I'm an academic and I research this topic. And if you'd like to talk to me, I would be happy. And they asked me to send them a PowerPoint that I did. And then they never emailed me back. They ghosted me. So I don't think they're interested.
I will give my contact a little crap about that, because if I recall, I actually had to talk to him about you, saying that he needed to contact you and get you involved.
Wow.
I was in the Maya Cowan court for that one.
I appreciate knowing that, but yeah, they didn't seem particularly interested in anything I had to say. It's actually an interesting thing, and this is just like a total aside, so I'll just say it and then I'll leave it alone. But the United States government has been known to hire anthropologists for the military and like CIA and these 3-letter agencies. They've been doing that like since the start of anthropology and since the start of all of it, because they recognize that it basically makes their overseas operations a little bit easier to have a strong cultural understanding of what's happening in the countries where they are doing military operations or intelligence operations. But the United States is pretty much the only country that I'm aware of that actually does that. The Canadian military does not hire anthropologists, and I don't think CSIS does either. I've certainly never heard of anything like that. But
all right, let's go to Nicole here. She is asking, what are your thoughts on UFOs as a spiritual or religious replacement? As Diane Walsh-Pasulka theorizes on the cultish-like comparisons of the two.
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess I kind of have some mixed thoughts about that. I don't think that the UFO subject can be looked at purely as a religion. And to be fair, I don't know, but I don't think Diana Walsh-Pasulka thinks of it that way either, based on some of her more recent work that's come out. I don't think it's purely religious, and I don't think that, I'm an anthropologist. I'm not a religious scholar, and I'm not an anthropology. I'm not even an anthropologist of religion, so maybe I'm getting something a little bit wrong, but I think that part of what makes the UFO subject so different than a lot of religions is that there is this really strong material component, and there is this evidence or this element of like physical proof or the potential for physical proof that other religions are. And so, okay, so I'm going to say this and then I'm going to qualify it, but a lot of religions, most religions that I'm aware of, are very comfortable in the not knowing, right? Like they have faith, and that's a really big component is, you know, people just have faith and they believe things and they don't need to necessarily see it right before their eyes for, you know, for it to be true because they have faith. But in the UFO world, a lot of people really do want that physical proof, right? Like there's people who are in this sort of world of like, I believe, but I still want the proof and I still need the proof. But that's not true for everyone. And certainly there are a lot of people, and I know people in this chat have probably heard this, but I wrote about it in my dissertation just as a way of sort of explaining it to other anthropologists who aren't familiar with this world. Like if you've ever heard of people talk about disclosure, discovery, and discernment as sort of the three ways of knowing the subject, right? Those are, I think, really actually useful ways of explaining this, at least to someone from the outside, that, you know, we can know the subject through science, we can know the subject through information that's revealed to us from sources like the government, or we can know this subject through direct personal experience and through what happens to us. And we know what happens to us. You know, that's a universal human truth. People know what happens to them. And so some people don't need, you know, anything tangible. And some people do. And I think that's what makes the subject really unique, but also maybe not quite, you know, not quite a true religion necessarily. But I think that way of studying it is really interesting and useful. And I've certainly, you know, read a lot of stuff from religious studies and found it very useful in my own work. So I don't know if that, I hope that helped.
Follow up from Jess here, who is asking, what tangible artifacts are you referring to?
Oh, I'm not talking about anything like one specific thing, but, you know, like the idea that we could have, you know, like good data with like correlated images and radar returns and sound, or, you know, that we could have like physical craft that had been retrieved, or bodies or pilots, or, you know, the old classic of an alien landing on the White House lawn, like just that there would be some sort of tangible artifact, if that makes sense.
Getting back to the question from Nicole about whether or not ufology is becoming or starting to act a little cultish, whether it's from a scientific side, a human side, a social media side, it does seem that there are narratives that are being formed scientifically and social medially. I know that's not a word. I just made that up, but it sounded really, really professional. Okay. That groups of followers are almost blinded to certain people who are speaking. And whether it's Hal Puthoff, or whether it's Stephen Greer, or the newcomer the last couple of years, Jesse Michaels, or Jeremy Corbell, or, you know, way back in the day, Art Bell, or whoever it may be. It seems like
Dave Scott.
Pardon me?
I said Dave Scott.
Dave Scott as well. Yeah. Yeah. I wish. No, I don't. But I kind of look at it like there is like this brand of followers that in this subject that will go almost, I hate to use this term, but go to war with everybody else in the field because their opinion is different than others. Or you have people who are trying to just steer the narrative because they have the social media clout and following in their direction, that it's almost like we're losing the perception of what ufology or uapology is.
Yeah, that is certainly a concern for sure. And I I think, yeah, ufology. I've never heard the term UFOlogy before, but I love it. I'm going to start using that. It's definitely, yeah, I think it's uniquely suited to that, right? Partly because if you look at other religions, I mean, even other cults to a certain extent, right? Like there's central texts and there's, theologies and there's like these ideas that exist that people can go to. And the UFO subject, the UAP subject doesn't really have I guess you could make an argument that certain things like, the Roswell crash or the Ariel school incident or whatever kind of, fill the same role, but there's still no one book or one text that everyone will agree on. So this is just me guessing, but maybe it's that void of a central authority makes it uniquely suited to have people pop up as sort of these cults of personality and these sort of micro theories of thinking about things, and then people get stuck on that and think that anything outside of that is wrong. I don't know. Did that make sense?
3 minutes to go before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Maya Cowan, anthropologist for the Society for UAP Studies, is with us tonight, and we'll have her till the top of the hour. I guess what I'm saying about this whole cultish behavior is that we see people who are really trying to steer narratives. The U.S. government, or whether it's a lot of these people, and I'm not picking on them, whether it's Lou Elizondo or Ryan Graves or many others, they're specifically focused on a threat narrative. Okay, because threats equal budget. You have people who are going down the road of summoning or ET contact, like Dr. Stephen Greer, who has millions of followers around the world. I mean, that it does get a little bit hazy when you're trying to take a subject that is so vast and so unknown, and yet you have these people who are trying to flex their so-called expertise on it. Is there an expert? Let me ask you that. Is there an expert out there?
Me. Just kidding.
I love it.
Yeah, it's yeah, everyone please file this way to my new cult that I'm starting. No, I don't know. Is there an expert? I mean, I think all those people that you mentioned are experts in their own way, but is there anyone who knows everything that there is to know about the subject and is an expert in that sense? I don't think so.
I think you're right. I do.
I think it might be unknowable in a holistic sense.
So just a quick minute answer here for you, minute and a half answer. When you're searching around social media and you see people calling themselves experts, UFO experts, how do you react to that? Do you do the famous eye roll with that, like most of us do, or do you just say, well, there's another somebody who's trying to grift off this subject?
I mean, I think it really probably depends, but it's an interesting question because that's kind of like the frame through which I've chosen to study this is through the topic of expertise. And I think that I don't know that there's any one. Well, no, I'll take that back. I think that there are these sort of developed communities of expertise, but it gets into what makes someone an expert, right? And I think a lot of people would point to the ability to first of all, comprehensive knowledge, the ability to create new knowledge within a particular framework, the ability to help people to gain that knowledge, to teach other people and train other people into expertise. At least that's what we look at when we're looking at expertise in for example, a virology lab or there's one book that looks at cultural expertise amongst immigrants to the US who have to kind of get to know the immigration system on a micro level so they can help their communities and things like that. So
hold that thought, because we do have to go to our final break with you tonight. We got another hour and a half of Spaced Out Radio. We have Maya Cowan till the top of the hour.
Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. I'm just going to close my window. Getting chilly in here.
I was literally about to do the exact same thing.
One of these days, I'm going to have my window open and my friend Carl is going to show up again. Ever tell you the story about Carl, Maya?
No, I was just going to ask.
At my old house where I had my first radio studio for SOR, it was right beside my front door. I converted a bedroom into a little mini radio studio. There's a window right there that faced the front of my house. And it was April 20th, 2015. And I was interviewing a guy named Harvey Kraft. What was his name? Harvey Kraft? Yeah, it was about Buddha. And I'm somebody who always has my outside lights on. But for some reason, this was night number 3 that I had not turned my lights on outside. And I don't know why. I would be looking out the window and see it dark. Oh, yeah, I forgot to turn the outside lights on. I'm just that guy. Well, on this night, I saw something move out my window. I started my show. My show was only 2 hours then. I started at 10 o'clock at night. And I was interviewing Harvey. We're about 19 minutes into the show. And I see something move out of the corner of my eye out the window. I'm thinking, oh, crap. Got friends coming over. And I really don't want them going to the front door. Because now my dogs are going to bark. I had a Chihuahua Dachshund cross named Zero. And she would, any knock at the door, that was 35 minutes of barking. Barking doesn't do well on the radio. And so after a few minutes, I realized that the dogs weren't barking. So I stood up. I turned in my chair to look out the window. God is my witness. Swear in the Bible, my children's lives, whatever. There was an alien gray on the other side of the window staring at me.
Wow.
And he was only maybe 6 feet away, if that. So I did what any man would do. I fell back in my chair and I screamed like a banshee. And then I jumped up and I looked. And in that split second, when I jumped up to look again, he was gone. And I would have seen a human running off.
Yeah.
I would have seen him. Now, Carl, I had to give him a name. So I gave him the name Carl. Carl, a few years later, at my new home here, where I've been for 11 years, came back. And, on the movie Signs and now coming up in Disclosure Day, where you hear that.
Yes.
I'm standing on my patio listening to a conversation of that from 2 in my backyard and 1 up my driveway by the road.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. They then showed me this picture in my head that I needed to go to a lake 2 miles from my house and sit in the parking lot, because the image they showed me was that I was going to see a mothership there. Big open sky there down at the lake. So the lake 2 miles away. So me being Canadian like you, I hung a left instead of a right, and I went to Tim Hortons first. I figured if I was going for a ride, I needed an ice cap and a Dutchie donut. Then drive to the lake, came back. This is all at about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Came back, nothing was at the lake, sat there for about 45 minutes. Nothing happened. Didn't see a damn thing. Went back home. Energy had changed. That's how I figured out how they leave. This is what I want studied. Because how they leave is they put an image in your brain that if you go somewhere else, you're going to get more contact. You're going to see more. And then when you see nothing and you go back to the original location, they're gone. Hold that thought. We're coming back in 3 seconds. Hi, Thurston Howell III. Here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Maya Cowan, anthropologist, PhD with the Society for UAP Studies, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and we're having a great time. We are going to take more audience questions as we go through this show. So if you're in our audience on YouTube or X or whatever social media platform you're watching us on, do us a favor, put your questions in capital letters so that way we can get them to her, because I see capital letters better. The font is so small. You ever notice how computer program font seems to be getting smaller and smaller? Because I know it's not my age or how crappy my eyes are. I know it's not that at all. It's definitely computer programs and the font getting smaller. That's what I think. Maya, welcome back.
Hi.
Where to continue here?
Be back.
Right before the break, we were kind of getting into the whole study aspect of whether or not humanity is ready for this, whether or not we're going to get straight answers from a scientific category, because you deal with a lot of scientists through this subject, whether it's through the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies or the Society for UAP Studies or whoever else you are working with. You deal with a lot of brilliant minds. Are they looking for aliens in space? Or are they just more interested in the technological aspect of whatever these craft are right now? Leave the aliens for another science at a later date.
I mean, I think there's like the answer scientifically, and then as far as the actual work that they're doing and what they're publishing and what they want to get out there. And then there is like what people are actually thinking about, and talking about and working through on a more personal level, just as themselves. On a scientific level, everyone that I talked to said it's way too early to say definitively from a scientific perspective, whether we're looking at aliens or, interdimensional beings or whatever else. Like, we just need the data right now, because right now we're completely lacking in that. So that's what we're focusing on. On like a more personal level, when I ask people, what do you think they are? Gun to your head, what do you think we're dealing with here? Because they certainly know a lot more than I do and are a lot smarter than I am and know a lot more about the possibilities within physics and things like that. And actually, just for fun, in my dissertation, I made a table of all the different theoretical possibilities that everyone brought up who I interviewed. And that includes like angels and demons. It includes, that maybe they're not real. Maybe they're all just hallucinations, to aliens, to interdimensional beings, Boltzmann brains, all of those, multiverse sort of stuff, ultra-terrestrial. Like, those were all the different sort of, hypotheticals that people brought up. And there's a lot of them. And yeah, when I asked people to sort of evaluate it, a lot of people said, like, it's too certain. We don't have the data to say for sure scientifically, but of all of the ones that we have to look through, there's some of them that we can just scrap right away. They're not hallucinations. They're not all in people's head. We have some indication that they're physically here. They're probably not interdimensional because, that doesn't really quite make sense with the physics of it, at least not interdimensional in the sense of like an actual fifth dimension. But then when you look at extraterrestrial, it's like, well, we know that, there's we've identified like thousands, and we know that there's probably like a near infinite number of exoplanets. We know that a lot of them look like they could support life, even within our very narrow view of what life might look like, just judging from how it looks on Earth. So we think, so like aliens are out there almost 100%. And we know that with our technology, like we could do interstellar travel if we really wanted to. And we looked on like a multi-generational level as far as how we would get from point A to point B, then, it's possible. And so basically every possibility, a lot of people that I talked to were like, well, it's easy to say like, it's probably not that, but extraterrestrials is like actually kind of makes the most sense scientifically for a lot of people. So too soon to say, but yeah, a lot of people were leaning to that explanation.
So they are very open to the subject.
Oh yeah. I don't think I can't think of a single person that I interviewed who said they're definitely not extraterrestrial, or that wouldn't make sense.
Okay, so and I love that answer. Thank you for providing that. Here's where I get confused. Okay, I know you're friends with people like Rich Hoffman and everybody like that, and I got a lot of respect for Rich. However, a couple of years ago, he made a comment on this show that I'm curious to get your opinion on, where he basically said that he wished the UFO public would, in his words, get the hell out of the way and let the scientists do their job, because the UFO people, whether it's shows like this, whether it's experiencers or people who are being citizen journalists or citizen scientists, are really throwing a lot of bull crap out into the ether when it comes to this subject, and it isn't good. And he wishes that they would just leave the scientific community alone to do their job. How do you feel about a comment like that?
I mean, yeah, without knowing the full context for it, I mean, I think like I kind of see, I guess, in a sense what he's saying, like, because there's so many, like, like we were just talking about, like there's so many of these like cult figures in the UFO world that command so much attention and that obviously are seeking, more for attention and for their own sort of name and ideas to get out there, that it sometimes can drown out the scientific work that's happening. But I mean, I do think that, I probably have a unique view of this. And I think that most of the scientists I talk to feel the same way, that, there's lots of valid different ways of looking at this subject. Like, looking at it from an experiencer perspective is valid. Looking at it from a scientific perspective is valid. But it's difficult, I think, from the scientific perspective and I think that they're kind of forced into a box almost with this, like trying to establish themselves as serious scientists, because the scientific community already thinks that they're full of it, And so I think it kind of creates like a tension as far as having to say like, no, we're different, we're credible, and we're not like the people that you may associate with this subject. So
when it comes to the experiencer, because there is times where we are going to have to bring up that subject, that if it is proven, like, we're the experiencer out there, they already have their disclosure. They do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They want to just know, why me? That's the big question experiencers have. And it seems like from an experiential point of view, from people who've been taken, they just want some help. They don't want a shrink that's going to sit there and say, you're making this all up, because we know what we know. Now, I'm not saying that all cases there isn't any type of mental trauma with some of these cases, but I think for the most part, there are people out there who are having literal happenstances with extraterrestrial contact and or abduction. Now, when we look at that, at some point that has to blend in. That part of the conversation has to blend in with the nuts and bolts aspect of this. Are there people out there or scientists out there outside of Gary Nolan right now that are looking into the effects or the causation of ET contact and or abduction?
Yeah, I am not aware of anybody who's doing that research besides Gary Nolan, like as far as like the actual scientific research. I know there's UAP Med and there's Unhidden are both looking at it from like a psychological sort of mental health perspective. I'm aware of some people that I probably shouldn't say their name, but that's okay because I can't remember their name, even if I wanted to say it. I'm aware of some people who are sort of developing like a more informal study as far as basically hooking people up who are contactees, and I can't think of the word I want to use, but like ongoing contactees, like people who can summon craft or beings, like hooking them up to biological sensors in order to try to measure if there's anything different that happens in the body during contact experiences. But that's, as far as I know, that's not being published scientifically. That's more just like what they're sort of doing for themselves. But it's certainly something that comes up in conversation from time to time for me, and something that I've argued for in my dissertation, that truly the best way to understand this from a holistic perspective, if that would even be possible, is that we need to be thinking of new ways of doing research. Because right now, like, this is a super interdisciplinary subject, but everybody's working within their own discipline. Like, I'm an anthropologist, I'm just doing the methods and methodologies and literature. Like, it all comes from anthropology, and the physicists that I talk to are physicists, and they are using their background in physics, and the religious studies people are just using their background in religious studies, right? And all of these people are talking to each other. Like, there's conferences where people are presenting beyond their field of expertise, but right now that I'm aware of, there are not very many, if any, efforts to seriously collaborate across disciplines as to like, how could we really start to think about a way that could be like transdisciplinary almost, right? Like, what could we do that, I'm rambling a little bit. What can we do that would go past our disciplinary, ruts, and do something that would be truly unique? Because I think that's what this subject ultimately needs. Like, we've seen all the different aspects of it and how they can be treated differently by different disciplines, but we need to be talking to each other from the base level of like developing methodologies to really think about how we can look at this question from the ground up.
Let's get to another question here. This one comes from Kim. What's the greatest impact you hope to make in this field?
Well, as far as the very limited, perspective, as I just said, the very limited perspective that I come from, honestly, when I started this project, my first goal is I was like, let me see if I can get my very skeptical supervisor to think that there's a bear there, right? Because when I first talked to him, he was like, yeah, okay, you can go study this, but like, it's not real, right? And now I think I got him. And I think I've got everyone on my committee to at least agree that, this is like a really interesting thing that's going on within the scientific community, and that these people are asking really interesting questions. And so if I could have a very lofty goal, I would say it would be that after I publish my dissertation in a couple of months, that I would like to publish a book, and that I would like to have people read the book, and they would be people who would not necessarily, who would be skeptical about it, who would think that, the only thing that's interesting about this is, why did these crazy people believe in this crazy thing? Because that's what a lot of the social science about this topic has been so far, right? It's been, why do people believe in these crazy conspiracy theories? That's what's interesting about it. But I would like for people to read my work and say, oh, this isn't a crazy thing to believe in. We totally understand why they believe in it. And maybe to just try to reduce some of the stigma that has circled this topic within academia. I think that's a reasonable goal.
Right. So if I look at it, and put it more in layman's terms, the scientific community is not ready for the most part, because of the differentiating scientific backgrounds, is not ready to take on the experiential side of this topic. And for you, it's about you finding your own place on how you're going to morph into this subject to make a better difference to help people.
Yes. And I would also add to that I would like for people to be able to read my work and come away from it and say, oh, I understand why this is a valid scientific topic.
Right. Love it. Let's go to Blackthorn. Maya, in your opinion, what aren't we doing that could be done to improve the search for ET?
I'm going to say this is not a very good question for me. I didn't really look. I have some friends who work in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, and I actually am planning on doing maybe a paper or something about SETI with a friend who works in that field, but I don't know enough about the ins and outs to say what we are or aren't doing that would improve the search for ET. But I will, I guess, just put an honorary plug for reducing this stigma of studying the topic. That always helps.
How do we close that stigma?
How do we close it? I mean, I genuinely think that from the conversations I've had with scientists, when people see the work that they're doing and they see the applications and they see, in some cases, even just when they see that like all of this is applicable beyond just looking for UFOs, like somebody told me that she often justifies her work by saying, we're looking for UFOs, but we're also looking for like all sorts of other stuff and weather phenomena and all of these other things. And people will go, oh, okay, that's actually really interesting. That's neat. But I think I talked a little bit about this at the start of the show, that like just being around the conversations and hearing them and stuff, I think that slowly chips away at the stigma as well, at, hearing about it and engaging with it and having the opportunity to engage with it and ask questions. Yeah. And if the government would stop doing PSYOPs.
I'm just going to mute you there because of that motorbike that's driving on by there. There we go. Now we got you.
Sorry.
Hey, must be a good night to ride New York.
Yeah. Friday night. 2 a.m.
I want to get to this comment here. This is from Haku in our chat room. The scientific community would never make the effort to do the work if the UFO community stopped pushing. Do you think there's some truth to that?
I think that the scientific community who's studying this topic is the UFO community. These are members of the UFO community who happen to be scientists for the most part. There's certainly some people who are maybe a little bit more on the outside or a little bit more skeptical, but just willing to throw their hat in the ring and help out with it. Like I definitely know some people who are more in that camp, but most of the people who are scientists who are studying this topic are like intimately familiar with the ins and outs of this topic. They've been reading about it for way longer than they've been studying it professionally. A lot of them are experiencers themselves. So I would say
I was
don't
just going
stop pushing. But
I was actually just going to ask you that. Out of the scientists you have talked to, how many of them are experiencers? Not eyewitnesses to a UFO, actual experiencers where they believe they've had some sort of extraterrestrial contact.
so I can't really I will just say this, like I can't give you a number because I have had people confide in me that they are, but they didn't want that publicly known because of their professional reputation, not within like the UFO community, but within the broader scientific community, like within their actual physics department. Like they didn't want their department chair to know that they were an experiencer. But I would say, honestly, of the people that I talk to, it's maybe like 50-50 or something.
That's a big number, 50-50.
Yeah, maybe not quite, but certainly in the ballpark of like a lot of them, probably more than you would expect.
Yeah, I think if it was even 20%, I think it moves the ball forward.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you differentiate between like eyewitnesses to a UFO and other sorts of experiences, then maybe it's not quite that high. But certainly a lot of people were eyewitnesses to a UFO before they ever started studying this topic scientifically. And I think also what's interesting about studying this topic scientifically that isn't really, I don't know, it doesn't really come up in any other form of science, is that by doing this scientific work, it makes people into experiencers. Like that happened to 3 of the people that I interviewed were not experiencers going into this topic, but had very deeply weird experiences in the field that were beyond, just seeing something on a screen.
With 2.5 minutes to go with you tonight, Maya, where do you see the rest of this year going in regards to the study of ufology? Do you see a speech from the president saying we are not alone in the universe? Do you see Roswell coming out? Do you see more scientific push towards getting better videos and better evidence from the public? Because you guys are quite closed off, just as we are. How do you see the rest of the year going?
Well, in an ideal world, someone would give me a large private grant to continue my research, and that would move the needle forward. But failing that, I would say it's really hard to say. I mean, I think we're going to be so distracted here in the US with the elections. And so it's hard to say, that could go one way or the other, honestly, as far as whether that would push anything forward with disclosure. But certainly the scientific community is continuing to do their work and continuing to publish and to, push things forward. If anybody, this one's for the Canadians. This year, the SCU Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies is having their conference in Toronto this year in July, and I'm presenting. So, those sorts of events will continue to happen, and I can make no predictions at all, honestly, about what the government is going to do, if anything.
Love it. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
For sure. So you can follow me on LinkedIn at Maya Cowan. My name, Maya Celeste Cowan. I think I put my middle name in there because there was a different Maya Cowan. My Twitter or X is at UAP Maya. And then also, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to start yet, so the page is not out, but I'm going to be teaching a course for the public for the Society for UAP Studies, a course that I taught 2 years ago. I'm teaching it again. So follow me on social media if you're at all interested in that, or send me a message if you would like to take it, and I can, shoot you an email or whatever when it's going to come out. And stay tuned. I'm teaching a course right now for Binghamton University about the paranormal and UAP. So that's been really fun.
Maya Cowan, everybody, anthropologist from the Society of UAP studies. Coming up in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here. Lee Strauss is here as well. We got a good third
You're
hour.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Great job, Maya. Great job again.
Thanks, Dave.
I love it when you're here.
I love being here. It's so fun.
Let's talk to you in a couple of months again, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. It's
All
a
right,
good
buddy.
excuse to stay up till 2 a.m.
Exactly. And next
Yeah.
time I drive through Hope, I'll wave at your family there, even though I don't know where they live.
No,
I'll just
they
wave.
moved. They live in Merritt now. I shouldn't have doxed them. Whatever. They'll be
Well,
fine.
next time my son's in Merritt playing hockey.
Oh, nice. Very
Yeah.
cool.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Be right back, everybody.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your spaced out radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained, and you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
Extra small Lee Strauss is here with us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Dave. How are you?
I am great. I'm still buzzing over that 18.5-inch print that we found last week.
Oh, yes. That looked amazing. It really did. Good for you.
UFO news to go over this week, man.
Okay.
How was your trek?
Oh, it was so awesome, Dave. My calves burned for 2 days.
We'll talk about it in a second. Here we go. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Railophone. Railophone is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
I usually go camping. I still do as of the summer. It was last year where it was me, my 3 cousins, and younger brother, 2 of which I'll call Tom and Bart for privacy reasons. Tom is my younger cousin and Bart being my younger brother. Tom and Bart went for a walk on a long road which is used for a plane to land. Alongside the road there is a cabin that hasn't been used for years. The 2 said they've seen someone standing on top of the cabin, but as soon as they got there, there was nothing. They did see wet footprints, though. When the 2 came to get me and my auntie so we would go back with them, we didn't see any footprints. Ever since then, nothing has happened. Now, skip forward to a year later, 2019. I went back to camp again with my younger brother and a few of my cousins. The length between the cabin I'm staying in and the one my auntie and siblings are staying in is a good 3 miles. I had to walk if I wanted to visit them, which I have done, but when I crossed that cabin that was previously mentioned, I looked above the branches and I saw something on top of the cabin. It had a grotesque body, showing mostly bones with a deer-like head. It looked dead at me, and thanks to horror movies, I wasn't stupid enough to check it out. As soon as I walked past it, I had a whiff of something that smelled dead, or like a leftover carcass. I then heard a loud, blood-curdling scream. That was enough to get me running. I don't know if it was a skinwalker, a wendigo, or whatever the hell it was. I just know I avoid that area as much as possible now. If anybody has any ideas of what this thing could be, please comment down below letting me know.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, hit subscribe, ring that bell. It's called Swamp Dweller. Thousands of stories there for you to listen to each and every night. Now, let's bring in our good friend Lee Strauss, who's here for the Q&A.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call? He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
Lee Strauss, it's always great to have you on Spaced Out Radio. You missed last week on the show because you were out camping for the Memorial Day weekend, looking for Sasquatch, looking for UFOs. How'd it go for you?
Oh man, I should tell this story, Dave, because I think it's important, and I think it might dovetail into what you got a picture of there with the Squatch print, the big one.
What?
Right?
What? I don't know what a Squatch is.
Sasquatch. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so the story goes, there was, I think it was like 3 weekends ago, I was up in this area, and it's a hike I've always wanted to finish, right? I've come in from the other side of this hike because there's two ways in, and I've gone in from the way I have this time, except I had a partner with me, and so I wasn't able to do the whole thing. And years previously, there was snow up there and stuff like that, so I couldn't make it. This year, the snow has melted out early enough to where I could make the whole hike. So we get in there to where the road splits, and one trail goes up to Snoqualmie Lake, and the other one splits off, and it goes to this other area where people really don't go that much. And so when we were back in there, I had made recordings during the day, in fact, I did some stuff when I was there and with my drone as well. But when I got, we did hear something. We were up there. I have to say that we heard a wood knock, and we heard a howl when we were headed back down the trail from behind us up in this area where not a lot of people go. And I start going through my footage when I get home, and everything that I took, all the footage, I can send you the clip, Dave, where I was standing there recording, and I go, and it's out. In fact, I want to do that. It looked a lot like the Steven Spielberg, except there was no clicking involved with what was going on from the, what I'm talking about, the Steven Spielberg clip from the movie Disclosure Day. But yeah, it was just weird because I had the camera facing me and I was recording, and then it was like 3 seconds of me just like and then that was it. I don't know what happened to the footage for the drone. I don't know what happened to the footage I recorded on my phone. It just was not there.
It vanished.
Gone. And so last weekend I said, okay, well, I'm going to finish this hike because this is something I've been trying to do for freaking years, right? So I go up there, I get all my recordings. I hear nothing when I'm up there, and nothing, nothing around, nothing, no footprints, no nothing. But all the recordings I did last weekend are there. So I'm good. But yeah, it was just bizarre. And so I thought, well, when you showed me that footprint, I'm like, hey, we're both this is not the first time that you've had experiences and I've had experiences like really close together in the same amount of, within the same week, if not the same day. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, well, heck, maybe there's a correlation there between what you got going on and what I got going on, and the fact that we share, do the show on Friday night. And sometimes I think that maybe there's something going on in the background that we don't have a grasp of.
Here's one of the things that we've been noticing out at our location here recently as well. The last couple of weeks, far off, at the Flight 21 crash site where it has the meadow way in the back. Well, beyond the meadow, there has been a lot of chatter from ravens. But what's really weird about it is underneath the raven's voice, as their squawking starts to tail down, you're actually hearing something else, like it's speaking, and it's almost like a high pitch, what in the Sasquatch world we call samurai chatter. Okay. And it makes me wonder if we're actually hearing some sort of audio pareidolia from the echo of the ravens, or if the Sasquatch are using the ravens as a buffer to communicate, so we're not noticing they're talking. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, they can make the sounds, just through their vocalizations, they can make sounds to where it sounds like a door closes on a vehicle, and just all kinds of sounds that just don't make sense, right? So, of course, we want to be mindful of that. If you're way back in the woods somewhere and you're hearing car doors close, or a car alarm, or even a siren from a first aid vehicle, it doesn't make any freaking sense at all. But yet people talk about these things, the fact that they hear these things. And so the only animal that's capable of making those noises, from what we understand, is the Sasquatch. So it makes me wonder, how are they communicating? They probably already know you're there, right? When you put that intention in your mind when you're at work, saying, I'm going to go out there after work because it's a beautiful day, they probably already know you're coming.
I would agree with that. Here's the other strange thing, and you just kind of brought it up, but I want to add to that. I have had many people over the years mention to me that even though they didn't feel like they were being watched or anything, there is some sort of metallic type sound, like scraping of metals, like when you scrape metal along a cement path, it makes that screeching kind of sound, especially if the metal is beat up. Okay. Usually if it's smooth, I'm not just saying grab a metal bar and drag it. That's not going to do it. But if you have like a piece of aluminum or something and you're dragging it, I've heard so many stories about people in Sasquatch areas hearing those metallic sounds where there should be no metal being dragged around. And in fact, when our videographer Mike and I were out in the back towards the gifting site, I actually heard something. It sounded like it was tripping over the metal piece of landing gear that's out there on the way. You have to step over the landing gear in order to go towards the trail that takes you to the gifting site. We heard that. And then Mike took his sister out there just to show her the area. And he said way off in the distance in the trees, he heard like metal scraping going on again. So I don't know what it is about this metal scraping sound that people hear in these Sasquatch areas, but it is one of the mysteries that I'm very curious about.
Yeah, I've heard people say that, the sounds that are out in the woods that should not be there are there. And we can only assume that the Sasquatch is vocally, making those sounds vocally somehow. They have heard it, right? And they have put it in their category of, or their repertoire of things that they can do, sounds that they can make. And who knows, maybe they're watching you, that they can see you guys from their location and are watching you when they have one of their teammates make the sound, and to see how you react to these things. Or even better yet, if they're able to understand how we feel or know something about us internally, through a mind somehow, if they don't try these things out on people, to get their reaction, to see what that might do, or maybe frighten people away, certain noises or those sorts of things too. I don't know what the answer is, but it's interesting just to have that sort of thing recorded on a auto recorder, and then just go through it. And sometimes with these things, you have to listen to things 10, 12, 13, times, just to understand what you might be hearing.
I would totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. And it really does go to show that these creatures have some sort of unknown, uncanny way of being able to create sounds, to create more diverse sounds than just regular animal species. And once again, it's all theoretical. We really don't know, but for some reason this happens in these areas.
Well, I think they're super intelligent, super intelligent, right? I don't even think we have an understanding of how, smart they are, really. It seems to me that they've been able to avoid us as much as they have, and have all of those sounds in their memory bank. It seems to me they're much more intelligent even than we are, quite possibly.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. And they are the kings of their kingdom, which is the forest, and I don't think we can take anything away from them on that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. You can't say they're dumb apes. We're idiots for even saying something like that, I think. We just have no idea. And I don't think we ever will, really, until our society gets to a certain level, where they would accept us in some way.
In your area, did you have any UFO encounters with that?
Oh, Dave. I did not, but here's the deal. I don't feel the need anymore to take my cameras out to video the night sky. There's no reason for me to do it. Now with disclosure basically out, as far as I'm concerned, what's the use of me taking my equipment out to view the sky? I see no use for it anymore. So it's kind of changed me quite a bit. And from now on, when I go out, like I'm going out tomorrow night, tomorrow during the day, and then tomorrow night, I'm just going to go out there in the woods and on the lake and experience whatever it is I'm going to experience. I have no desire to film it.
You're just going for the experience.
Yeah, and unless it's right up at close and personal, I've got my cell phone. I think about all the money that I've spent on equipment and gear over the years, to capture something, and that's maybe the problem, right? And I haven't thought about it till the last couple of weeks, but to capture, I need to rethink that whole mindset, and it's not to capture, it's to experience. It's, I've had the experiences that I've had, but I think maybe it's possible I've been going about it the wrong way, looking for answers by capturing something.
So if I get this correctly, you just want to enjoy the moment. Let your eyes take in what you see, rather than trying to put it on video and say, look what I caught, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I've done those things. I've gone out there and filmed crazy, amazing things. But what I ask myself now, with disclosure the way it is, there's no reason for me to do that again and spend my time trying to capture it on film. I need to go out there and experience it. and use this as a tool instead of the equipment that I've, amassed.
This being your body.
Yeah.
And that's why I always called myself an enthusiast rather than a researcher, because I don't care to capture, I'm not here to prove anything. I am just here to enjoy the moment of the experience that we have.
Yeah.
Okay. Like if you're standing in the forest and you have a close encounter with Bigfoot, you got your camera on the ground, or let's say all you have is your phone. It's not waiting around for you to pick up your phone and get filming. It's not waiting for that. Hey, hold on, Mr. Bigfoot. I got to just switch this to 4K at 60 frames per second. It's not waiting for you.
No, and as far as Bigfoot's concerned, that's a different topic. I still believe that we could get some footage of Bigfoot, but as far as UFOs are concerned, I'm not going after that like I was.
So then what's your new goal?
Well, it's to build a relationship with whatever it is that I'm, looking for the answers to what has happened to me, and get a better understanding of them, and vice versa, them to me, instead of trying to capture the phenomenon in the sky. I think it's more important that I build that relationship, because it's already out. The people already know. Everybody knows ET's real. Yeah, there's spaceships out there. There's different alien species out there. I mean, that's now a foregone conclusion, right? So now it's about having that relationship, in a different way. Hey guys, I'm not out here to film you guys or try to capture you to put you, on YouTube or Facebook or any of that stuff. It's for a different purpose now. It's not to prove that you're here. It's more about an understanding between them and myself, and vice versa. It's just that's what needs to that's what I need to foster.
It's more enjoyable. Less stress. And you know what? When you capture something, it seems a lot more natural.
Yeah. I would agree.
I totally agree with you on that. I totally do. And I think in the matter of the UFO world, I mean, you sound a little frustrated with what's going on.
Well, that's a good way of putting it. I'm frustrated that the information isn't flowing out as much as I would like, but it is flowing, and there's no reason for me to be out there filming it and capturing it if it's already working its way through our government. Yeah, I mean, how many of us are out there? There's thousands of us that are actively looking for UFO evidence, but the thing is now it's come out. Why continue doing it what we've been doing for the last 20 years? Let's change it up a little bit. Let's start a new process. Let's foster that relationship. Because on a deeper level, a personal level, that means a hell of a lot more than trying to prove that they're here, because there's no reason. They're
What about close encounters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's what it's about. It's that more personal relationship with them.
Well, it sounds like you're trying to find some Zen and Chi going through this.
Kind of, I would say so. It's just a lot of work to set up all the equipment and do all of that stuff when there's no reason to anymore. And my goal is just to say, hey guys, how are you doing, and see if that, I think that'll help my relationship with them and vice versa. I just don't.
Hold that thought. When we come back, Lee's reaction to a number of UFO stories from this past week.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Lee, we're clear.
Okay. Yeah, it's just I'm almost angry at myself a little bit.
That's where you need to take up smoking.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's probably something that I should have been doing a long time ago, but I think there was a time when it was important to capture footage, and now it's not important anymore. And it should have been not important to me maybe 4 years ago. And I think our way of investigating this sort of thing for ourselves needs to change a little bit, right? Because it needs to be, you know, like the handshake in front of the Oval or in front of the White House sort of thing, you know, how you doing? That is that relationship needs to change between us and them.
Yeah. And I would say that's a personal change for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're
personal. I mean, before the whole reason for doing this,
you're going from nuts and bolts to spiritual woo. That's what you're doing. You're finally making the switch over. You don't want to admit it to yourself, but that's what's happening.
Yeah, that may be what's happening. You know, the whole thing before was like, okay, I need to capture them to prove to people, and there was some very close personal family members and that sort of thing that didn't believe what had happened to me. So my goal was to capture the footage, right? And prove to them that, you know, ETs are out there, and there's no reason to prove it to anybody anymore because it's being done. So let's switch the whole program. Instead of trying to capture them in the sky flying around, let's connect on a much deeper level.
I think it's beautiful, man. I do. You won't get any complaints from me on that.
Yeah. But as far as Bigfoot is concerned, and God, there is, Dave, and I swear to God, there is something between ETs and Bigfoot. They are tapped into the universal knowledge and have an understanding of it that we don't grasp. Mm-hmm. And they both tap into that same field or that same knowledge that we don't. And not knowingly, but they do it knowingly, right? So I still would like to capture footage of Bigfoot, but I don't want to call it capturing anymore. You know, capturing has a nasty connotation, and I think they can pick up on that energy. So
who is this guy I'm talking to right now? Who are you? What did you do with Lee?
Well, I'm kind of turning a corner, Dave.
You're scaring me right now.
Yeah. So I just think there's a different way to handle things. I really do. And it's a metamorphosis for me on how I do things. And I think it's a welcome, you know, it would be welcome in the field.
Sure. Go with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
So, you know, I really have to reevaluate how we we capture. I don't want to use the word capture. I have to use something else like
communicate.
Yeah, maybe we can use communicate. How do we communicate with Bigfoot, and how do we grab that knowledge to share with other people instead of using the word capture? Or how do we record the evidence to show to people that they exist? But more so from that, how do we show the human race, or that that everything is tied together into this knowledge, this universal knowledge?
Hold that thought, Lee, because we're coming back here. Thank you to Joe, Dutch Hank, Tits McGee, Pam Harris, and Shogun for the super chats. To the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Lee Strauss for the Q&A is here tonight. We're always glad to have Lee here. Thank you very much for joining us, Extra Small. You know, the radio audience can't hear you when you nod your head.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Well, I'm happy to be here, Dave. And, like we were talking, I just think that we're going to have to change the way we investigate and change it from capture to, or capturing evidence to recording evidence.
I have some breaking, exciting news.
Okay.
Our YouTube channel, as of tonight, just passed 30,000 subscribers. I'm kind of excited about that.
Heck yeah.
Kind of excited about that.
I had a strange occurrence like that too last week.
What'd you get?
Well, I got a ding on my phone from Facebook saying, "Hey, you can be monetized now." I'm like, "What? On Facebook? I can be monetized? How the heck is that possible?" And apparently, I've amassed enough people looking at my Facebook page now that I can get monetized.
Nice. Go for it.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, well, that's pretty awesome. I had no idea it was a thing.
Oh, yeah. Everything's a thing in the United States.
Well, there you go. That opens a whole new can of worms there.
All right, my friend, let's get into the UFO chatter here because, it's been over a week now since the UFO files were released, the second tranche. We're all anticipating that maybe this coming week, we could have another set of files coming on out. I'm hoping, and let's hope that this every 2 weeks, a new tranche continues. I mean, that's kind of the way it's patterned so far, but the government never really plays on patterns, but I do see it when it does coming out on a Friday. So that way all the politicians can leave before, they have to deal with the questions that come along with it. So far, 2 sets of files, Lee. What do you think we're going to get next?
Well, I would say, Dave, that 2 is not a pattern. That would you could set up for a pattern using 2, but yeah. Let's hope that, 2 weeks and you'll have more. But here's the interesting thing. Since the first drop of files, I haven't looked at the second drop of files. I haven't looked into it at all. And I really, at this point, don't have any interest in looking at the files at all, because as far as I'm concerned, that first drop was it for me. The only thing that can come out now is if if Trump does a speech and says, you know, according to all these documents and all these files that we've released, you know, ETs are here. I mean, those words could be said, but as far as I'm concerned, he's already done that.
For most of us, in the UFO world, we do feel that, but there are still people who want him to have the podium speech, the My Fellow Americans speech. We are not alone in the universe. You or me don't need that because we already know. And I think a lot of experiencers don't need that because they've already had their own disclosure of everything. But for the general public, they might need it.
Yeah, obviously, if you're on UFO Twitter or X, you'll see that there's still those people out there that are clamoring for that. But I don't think that pushes it any farther down the road. Really, I think people are going to want that. Okay, well, where's the body? Can I see an actual alien? It doesn't exist if the president even says it. I want to see the bodies. I want to touch them. You know, it's just going to go on and on and on for some people. Some people are not going to be satisfied by even the president coming out. They're just going to move the goalpost. You know, nothing is going to be good enough for some of these people. I don't care, you know, what kind of evidence you give them. And you know, Dave, that's really unfortunate. But that's the times that we're in right now, and there's so much so many people that are so ingrained in their own selves that they can't get over themselves to see the forest through the trees.
If you look at the way things are going right now, I think it's dangerous to trust any politician in this subject. Dangerous to trust a politician in general. Okay. But when it comes to this subject where we have a pattern of lies over the last 7-8 decades, I think we should be very cautious about anything the government puts out that is towards this subject, knowing that there probably is an ulterior motive towards that. Look at aliens.gov. They led us on to believe that was going to be where the UFO files were going to be. They put out the slogans, the truth is out there. We found the truth. You know, all of this kind of UFO type jargon, and it ends up being all about illegal aliens. Look, I'm not, and I just want to say this to our audience. This isn't a political show. It's not a political show at all. In fact, we pride ourselves outside of UFOs, not talking politics at all, because we want to give you a break on listening to what you get hammered with from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed listening to us. We're your break time. We're your relaxation for your mind with some weird, true stories that people have encountered. That being said, they used the UFO platform, the alien platform, in order to despicably, in my opinion, pattern it against illegal aliens in the United States. Sorry, just let me finish here for a second. In order to do that, they played millions of people. They did. And we were all excited. I think it's taken momentum away from the disclosure movement. I really do believe it has. And I don't know how much effect it's going to have because it's still relatively new. But I know all the chatter from a lot of people who take this subject seriously is very dumbfounded that the government would release the first 2 tranches of files and then pull this shenanigan. Your thoughts, Lee?
Yeah, this really upsets me. I want whoever made that decision to do that BS to be paraded out in front of the American public and do and apologize to everybody. That is ridiculous. Whoever's decision was, oh, this will be good and fun, it was obviously done by somebody who wanted to throw the administration under the bus. I think it was done by a malicious actor that
I think
thought,
it was done by somebody who thought they were being funny.
yeah, but I believe it was a malicious act that, and somebody needs to pay for this. You know what I mean? I feel like somebody's head needs to be on the freaking chopping block for this. That is freaking ridiculous.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to get their head on a chopping block. That's something that we leave to the French to do. Okay.
But you know what I mean? Somebody needs to lose their
still
job.
don't know if they're still using guillotines or not. Now, do you prefer the French pronunciation of guillotine or the good old way of the North American way of guillotine?
Well, it's what I mean is somebody needs to lose their job over it. I'm so freaking disgusted by that.
I think the UFO world got played on it. We got played. And look, there are a lot of people out there that support ICE. There's a lot of people out there who do not support ICE at all. Okay.
Sure.
That portion is a dangerous topic for a lot of people because you can take the topic from 0 to 100 in a matter of less than a second. What I am trying to focus on here with this is just the fact that I found it very disturbing that they would play an entire community. Well, maybe I shouldn't be surprised considering what the website is about. Okay. They played an entire community, which is small, but extremely passionate about the UFO subject and turned it into a mockery.
It wasn't just that community. It wasn't just our community that was triggered by this and angered by this. It's everybody. I mean, it's everybody that is even people that don't believe in UFOs are going to be pissed off about this thing, about what they did and how they did it. So I think it's across the whole board here. It's disgusting to me. It's absolutely freaking disgusting.
Let's move on to a different topic here because you and I we're pretty much agreeing on this. I think it's like beating a dead horse on that topic right now. And it's just going to upset me. It really is going to upset me about this. But there was more that came out this past week. Okay. Apparently, according to the Daily Mail, there is a secret White House plan for disclosure of alien life leak that Trump insiders have said to Christopher Sharp that they fear mass panic as UFO videos are released. Now, I don't see that happening right now. I think if any type of, it's not mass panic, it's mass confusion, because all they're showing us is dots. All they're showing us is videos from FLIR cameras that really cannot define the shape, the speed, the trajectory, how high is it off the ground, how close is it to the mountains, how high up in the sky are these things. They seem very tampered with. I don't see it as being, people being concerned about this as much as they're like, really? You're showing us this? Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea, I think, was to bring this subject out slowly. And so if they continue dropping every 2 weeks these files and videos and stuff, we're going to get closer and closer and closer to, a craft on the ground at Nellis. and seeing ETs come out of it. That, I think, that might freak people out. Seeing a craft on the ground is one thing, seeing a UFO on the ground. But if you are showing a live ET on on a video walking, I think that will freak people out. I think right now, at this point in time, that would be 2 steps too far, too quick. We want that. We want that kind of disclosure, but the majority of people to actually see something like that, it would throw them into a tizzy. It really would. It'd freak people out really bad. It reminds me of War of the Worlds, that whole radio thing when everybody thought that, we were actually getting attacked by an alien species. That's the kind of panic that I would imagine, and it would be far more widespread than just what the radio was conveying to a group of people. That kind of disclosure is too much too fast. I think we can get there, but I would like to see it at a slower pace of release.
Well, we're going to see how we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Until they show us something that is going to make us all look at this situation or these videos and say, holy cow, probably with more expletives, but let's use holy cow for the sake of terrestrial radio. That's where we're going to have our aha moment. Showing dots is not going to get the public riled up. Showing an F-15 flying at 47,000 feet, all of a sudden have a craft come equal to it, where you could potentially see the beings on the outside, or this craft that is landing on the ground and beings coming out, where it's been put through AI detectors, and people say, this is an AI. That's where it's going to come to some sort of reality. Okay, or if we get another Phoenix Lights type situation over LA or New York or Chicago or Dallas, or you name it. That is what's going to get people's attention. The dots aren't going to get people's attention. And I think people like us here at this show, we're starting to call out the tomfoolery that we are seeing. And, last week I was using the statement, these WWE type wrestling promos that we're getting from politicians, that we're getting from the associates close to the government regarding this, about if you, like Tim Burchett, if you saw the videos that I have seen, you would start to burn the world down. It would cause you to burn. You'd be so fired up, and I realize what he's saying. He's an impassionate person. But stop with the WWE promos if you're going to show us a video game of Pong from an F-18. Right? Stop showing us videos of weather balloons or Chinese spy balloons getting shot down. Those aren't UFOs. Yes, they are UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. But this is why, and this latest tranche proved it, Lee, and I will say this until I'll stand on every mountain in the world and scream this. This is why they keep proving and proving and proving that UAP are man-made objects. They're showing us the videos of man-made objects, not UFOs. Give us a UFO. If you got it, flaunt it. Right?
I agree with that. I agree with that. And I think some of the phenomena that I did see could have actually been a UFO and not just UAP. There was one video where it was darting across the screen back and forth, and we've seen that sort of thing in the field. So we know that that's the movement of a UFO and not a UAP. Unless, there's certain things you can do with the camera, right? If you're moving it back and forth like this, you can make the object actually look like it's doing that in the sky. But it's a common movement for a UFO to do that sort of thing. So I would say they are showing some stuff, but like you say, it's a dot in the sky. It's nothing really close. You can't see the nuts and bolts. You can't say it's metal, people, and that's what we're looking for. Something more tangible than a light in the sky. We need to see something closer up so we can actually see the defined edges of the craft, right? There's no context. In a lot of cases, there's no context with the videos that they're showing. Okay, so you have a stationary camera. I mean, okay, so for instance, the Hawaii UFO video where they are filming the Mauna Loa or something like that volcano, and the light comes out from the volcano and goes up into the sky. That is something pretty darn amazing, and it gives us a lot of context. It does. It gives us so much information. It tells us about, okay, well, how big is this possibly? Because we know how far away the camera is from the volcano. It gives us other data. Okay, so the other data would be like the luminosity of the thing, how fast it's moving. So those things can kind of be put together to give us, an approximation on how big the craft is and how fast it's moving, and those sorts of things are very important things. But you don't get that. We haven't had that yet in this new tranche.
And I think that's a great way to start to wrap things up here for the week. And thank you, Lee. I always appreciate when you come on this show. I mean, you're such a good guy, my friend. And, I always wish you well with whatever you're doing out in the field, because I think you're a very bright mind and a very analytical, cautious mind, which is what's needed in this field right now. Too many people are jumping on the bandwagon with their emotions. Take a step back, use critical thinking. And I'm one of those emotional guys, man. You know me. I'm an emotional guy. So it helps me, and I know it helps the audience when we have somebody like you come on here who is using discernment, using critical thinking, and trying to figure out the mystery we call UFOs. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Lee Strauss. That was very extra small of you tonight.
Well, I hoped I was able to ease people into this extra small weekend. Only 2 days instead of 3 this time. But it's good. I've got plans. My kayak is already lashed to the top of my Forerunner, so I'm getting out to Baker Lake and going to go spend the night under.
Oh yeah,
Mount
you're
Baker.
a kayaker now. You're one of them kayakers.
I've always been a kayaker.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know what I don't understand about the kayaker phenomena?
What's that?
These people who go out into the ocean in shark-infested waters to go fishing, and then they have an absolute freak-out session when a great white or a tiger shark comes up to him. Like that video from Australia where the guy had like a 17-foot great white following him, right? And he's panicking and he's trying to paddle his way, and yet he's still like a half a mile offshore. It's like, you moron. What do you expect? Number one, you live in Australia. The entire island is surrounded by, 450 million great white sharks and 3 tigers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have the San Juan Islands up here, right? And one of my dreams, since I was a little kid, I would to camp, right? And we'd always motor out to like different islands, Susha and all these different islands you can't get to unless you have a boat. So that's kind of the thing I want to do, is I want to be able to take my kayak around through the San Juans and, with the orcas and all the whole thing.
And the great whites.
There's no great whites. Well, they did have a sighting.
Excuse me, sir. Have you not been following the story of Kara the great white?
There, like I said, there has been a sighting of a great white in the Puget Sound. But
you know what? You're full of shit right now.
What do you mean I'm full of crap?
Okay, a sighting. My God, the place is filled with them.
Well, the orcas, they don't mess with the orcas. I'll tell you what, that's the greatest predator out there. I'm going to tell you right now.
I swear to God, if you get eaten by an orca because you run into one of these other types of pods, these rogue pods that they call them.
The ones that have been tipping over boats?
No, those are in the Mediterranean. They're just pissed off.
Well, they don't harm the people. You notice when that happens, they don't do anything to the people. It's like they think that the boats have captured the people and they're trying to help the people out by tipping their boats over.
Right?
They helped them out all right. Right into the water.
Just for anybody wondering, no, Friday nights and Saturday nights I do not do WABC because Walter is off.
Oh, I got some good stuff here. I really do, as far as the videos and whatnot.
Of course you do. You're Lee fucking Strauss.
Yeah, I got that promo done. I just got to figure out best way to get it over.
Try WeTransfer. How long is it?
It's about a minute and a couple seconds.
Okay. Yeah, just send it to me on WeTransfer. I can make that.
Okay. Is that an app on the phone? WeTransfer?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do that.
Yep. And it'll send right to me. Just send it to my email.
Okay.
That's all you need to do.
Good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. 30,001.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
Now we're at 30,002. Only 19,998 more to go to our next goal.
How awesome is that? I noticed there has been some changes in the algorithms, in Facebook, especially lately. All of a sudden, I don't get the normal people that I was getting on Facebook. usually when you get into Facebook, it'll show you the people that you usually follow, right? And what they've got going on. And all of a sudden, all of that was gone like 2 weeks ago. And I couldn't understand what had happened. Well, I noticed they moved some stuff around on the page. And then all of a sudden, my page started blowing up. So I wonder what algorithms have changed within YouTube as well.
I think it really helped us with that morning show I did when the first wave came out.
Okay.
Like we went up, and this may not sound like a lot compared to a lot of the bigger channels that are out there and the massive channels that are out there, but we had almost 200 subscribers that day.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've been going up steadily ever since, which is nice.
Yeah.
We deserve that. We're good people around here.
You've been doing this for over 10 years.
There's good people around these parts.
There is. And, just as far as I'm concerned, you were right next to, the great from the high desert.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, yeah.
That is one compliment I will never accept. There's
next in line, Dave Scott. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, I definitely think so. When Art started, fizzling out there as he did for the last couple years before he passed away, that's when I found Spaced Out Radio, and that's when I started listening. And so I will tell you, you're freaking don't give yourself enough credit.
I think I'm not too bad. I wish I could be better, but I mean, it's just typical radio person who you never think you have the perfect show. Right?
No, that's the truth. That's the truth because you're in the middle of it, right? You don't look at it like other people do from the outside. And what drew me in is the questions you would ask and the engagement that you would have with your guests.
It's all a lot of bullshit.
And it's your voice and it's your canter and it's your ability to joke around but still yet be serious about a subject. You were just fun to listen to.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We'll see where it goes. And got a little bit of momentum now with having Kelowna join us, 11:50 a.m. It's kind of cool. What's really cool about Kelowna, I don't know if I told you this or not. I actually, when I graduated broadcasting school in 1998, I actually did my practicum in Kelowna at a different radio station, but in Kelowna. So if you've never been to Kelowna, British Columbia, it literally is one of the most beautiful places in Canada. It really is. And a lot of people don't know, but Kelowna is right in the middle of a desert. Yeah. It's a desert. And I believe it's the largest desert in North America.
Interesting. I had no idea. Is there cacti there?
No, there's actually trees there.
Okay.
There are some cacti there. You know how you tell a male cactus from a female cactus?
Here we go. How's that? One flowers and the other doesn't.
No, the males have cacticles.
And they're cacticles. There you go.
There you go.
I figured we'd be going there. Washington State actually has a cactus, believe it or not. And it only grows in 2 locations here in Washington State. On the Olympic Peninsula on the east side in the rain shadow. And then also
that's very cool.
Up on what is it? It's the San Juan Islands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've driven the canyon to my house.
Yeah.
Okay. So if when you come out of the canyon, you hit that town called Cache Creek.
Okay, yeah.
Where all the gas stations are.
Uh-huh.
Just before you start your climb up the hill. So you take that road, you pass through Cache Creek, then you do all those windy turns before you start making your climb up towards, getting to the top of the mountains.
Yep.
At that road, that's where the desert ends.
Oh, you're right.
That's where the desert ends. That's
You're right.
like rattlesnakes. The rattlesnakes stop there.
Before they get to Dave's house.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That makes sense because, I went the way I came up, I went a longer route up, and then I took that way that you're talking about back.
Yeah. Which way did you come up?
I came up like I was headed to, the Whistler.
Oh, you went that way?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It's beautiful. What a brutal road, though, eh?
Oh gosh, but Dave, it was awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
That
brutal
is-
and windy, but beautiful.
yeah. Lots of Sasquatch in there.
I believe it.
Area. That's where the Steve Eilis from How to Hunt, or Steve, what the hell is his last name? From How to Hunt, the YouTube channel.
Okay.
That's where he lives, is in Pemberton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just beautiful scenery, we have places that are similar here in Washington State, but this was like driving to your place was quite the experience. I mean, I had a blast doing it. I had all day to do it because you were working. So I started out early in the morning and it was, I got to the border. I don't know, maybe it was 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And it was just so nice to drive up through there with the sun coming up. And it was just, I can't, it reminded me of Eastern Washington so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Except you could see forever.
The desert of Eastern Washington, like the Okanagan, is all desert.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But no cactuses out there.
Very few. Like you don't get the prototypical cactuses there. You get these little ones.
Yeah. I suppose it's different.
Cacticles.
Yeah.
You can use that, by the way.
Oh, can I? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sonosis, sleep headphones. Welcome to SOR chat, man.
I haven't been keeping up with the chat tonight, but
I have.
When I start talking and thinking, I if I look at that, it'll throw me off.
I know. I've watched you.
I can't multitask like that.
Oh man. I'm like seconds away from losing my voice here. We've been battling colds in our house this week.
I feel good, brother.
It's a dry cough too.
Oh yeah.
Started off with allergies this week. So
this is not the real Lee. What are you talking about? It's not the real Lee.
Felipe, how you doing, buddy?
Anyway, my friend, I have got a day tomorrow. I'm going to spend the night out there, and
nice.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Be safe, buddy. We got the ghost tour tomorrow night.
Oh,
along with Sunday, we're going out to Flight 21. So, yeah. You have a good night, buddy. And to the rest of you, thank you to Joe, Dutch, Hank, Tits McGee, Pam Harris, and Shogun for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate your love. I will see you on Monday. We're still a little bit behind on our booking for this coming week. And Yeah, still waiting. Still waiting. Let's see here. Do we have anybody? No, we still got to finish up booking this coming week. So we will get to that. We'll tell you who the guests will be on Monday. Check the website Sunday night. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you for a great week, everybody. Leave us a comment after the show. Let us know what you think. Much love. Be safe. See you on Monday.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.